Hello friends, I hope everybody's doing well. Today I'm going to start preparing this, it's a Boland's, and it also says Troy built on the sticker. We're going to start preparing this for resale, and this machine here is a 22 inch and has the 158cc classic engine on it. So I know right off the bat one of my viewers that may be watching this isn't going to like what he sees so far. Yeah, it's the air filter's on wrong. When I used to do repairs, they used to come in like that, like constantly. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to check it for gas, and I'm going to check the oil on it. And how I got this machine was when I was fixing up that Husqvarna that I made a couple of videos on it. It wasn't even done yet, and I was talking to a few of my friends, and one of my friends said, yeah, he said he was interested. It was a Husqvarna all-wheel drive, and I put the Honda engine on it, so he was interested in the machine before I even finished it. For $180, I told him I want it for it. So after I got the Husqvarna done, I delivered it to his house. And what it was he got tired of pushing this lawn mower around. He wanted something that was self-propelled. So he ended up giving me the mower. I asked if he wanted me to take any money off the price or if he wanted anything for it. And he said, no, just take it. So we're going to begin by seeing if it runs. Do the basic stuff like I said, check the oil, see if it's got gas in it. I mean, he used it up until I gave him the Husqvarna, so I pretty much know it runs. So let's get on with it and see if it'll start. And then after it starts, I'm going to go ahead and blow this thing off and clean it up real good. And then we'll get going step by step on how I prepare these mowers. Okay, so check the gas first. Yeah, it has a little gas in it. I think the last time I ran was probably about a month and a half ago. I know I've had it for about a month now. Okay, the kill handle works good so far. You can see it has oil in it. Knowing my friend, you know, he always made sure he took care of stuff as far as oil. Yeah, the oil's black. I already bought an air filter for it, and I bought a spark plug for it, because when you're selling these machines, it's best that you can list as much stuff that you did to it in the description. You know, like if you're going to sell it on Marketplace or something. And also, besides that, you want to make sure the mower is very clean. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a start. I'll give it a few primes, and we'll see how it runs. So that'll determine whether we have to do any carburetor work or anything on it. The prime's pretty good. I know it ran, because like I said, he was running it right up until I gave him the Husqvarna. So before I do anything, I'm going to pop this air filter off and see if it's clogged, because it is surging and, you know, hunting a little bit, and it almost sounds like the air filter might be clogged. So let's give that a quick check. I know where he lives at. It's very dusty and dirty conditions, you know, when you're cutting. So I'm counting on seeing this air cleaner's probably clogged. No, it looks pretty decent. All right, I'm going to try to run it without the air cleaner on it for now and see how it runs. Yeah, the air filter's pretty clean. You can probably see it. It's not that bad at all. The air cleaner's almost, you know, where I could just give it a quick cleaning and put it back on, but we'll decide what we're going to do with that later. So. So it's acting like it has a dirty carburetor, so we're probably going to have to adjust the carburetor on this also. I don't know the condition of the spark plug yet, but we'll check it all out. Let me get set up and I'll put it on the table. After I get done blowing it off, I'll stick the air cleaner back on so we don't get any debris into the carburetor throat. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to remove the blade. I've already disconnected the spark plug wire, and also you always want to tilt the machine away from the carburetor, which we did. And I've popped the blade off. We'll check the condition of the blade. If you're doing this to make money, the less money you have to put into the machine, the better off you are as far as the profit goes. Now, we just started out with a zero balance here because the guy gave me the machine. So, but I mean, a blade could cost you anywhere from $18 to $23. So you want to try to avoid, you know, high costs. So let's pop this blade off, and then we'll be able to take a better look at it to see what condition it's in. Okay, so this blade, I would say, is passable to just, I'll sharpen it and balance it and make sure it's okay. So that expense right there, we don't have to add to the build of the machine. So I'm going to put this all off to the side here. I'm going to scrape the bottom a little bit, but it's not that dirty. So, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so I just used this scraper here that I used to clean, you know, bottom of the deck or scrape any kind of debris off anything. So I used this. And I also want to mention, if you're using like an air gun, an impact gun, I suggest that you use like a impact socket. You should always use an impact socket. I don't always do that, but you really should. Okay, so I disconnected the pull cord from the handle. I checked the condition of the pull cord, which seems to be in very good shape. I don't think this machine really had that many hours on it. And I also checked the condition of the wheels are good. It's got good tread on it. They're not wobbly or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off the air cleaner and the carburetor assembly, which I would have done even if the carburetor was good. I was going to take all this off anyway, because what I want to do is, after I take the top cover off, I want to degrease the engine. I'm going to blow out the top, make sure there's no debris in there. And by looking at this, it looks like I could just get away with degreasing it and not have to paint it. But we won't know that until I degrease the engine. So we'll just go ahead and just start taking the rest of this apart here. Off camera, Scotty Daniel, before I blew it off, I put the air filter back on the right way. Because I know how much that bothers you if you're watching. I know it bothers me too. I can't stand to see that. So, Okay, so we're going to take this breather hose off. I'm going to eventually put all the parts in a coffee can so we don't lose any of the bits here. And what we have here is we're going to start off with a 3/8 socket here, because we're going to disassemble the gas tank carburetor assembly. It's only 2 bolts holding it. And then we're going to move on and use a 1/2 inch socket to get the bolt out. There's a spacer behind the bolt here, which is usually held on by one of the shroud bolts. Sometimes on the older ones, it was only the spacer and that was it. So you had to be real careful not to lose the spacer. So go ahead and pop this off. I'm thinking about just doing the carburetor cleaning off camera, because you've probably seen this done a number of times already. How many times could you watch that being done? So we're going to pop this off, and then we're going to take the linkage off here. Come on, you rascal. There we go. I'm going to end up dumping the gas out of this tank and put fresh gas in it. And we'll probably be adding some seafoam to it. I just don't want to lose this linkage here. We're going to hook it back on where it belongs here on the governor flapper. It doesn't want to go back on there today. Well, we'll just leave it hanging there. It's no problem. Alright, so let me take the shroud off and see what we got cooking underneath here. And we have 1 bolt in the front here. I've said it a number of times. If you don't know, it's best when you take the bolts out of anything you're taking off, just put the bolts together with the implement that you took off. This way you know where it goes. And I think I have a bolt on the other side that goes in the side like this one does here. And we'll go ahead and take that bolt off too. Okay, so here's that assembly I was talking to you about. It has a spacer where that 1/2 inch bolt goes through here to hold the tank on. And I think we have 1 more bolt to take off, and we can pull the top cover off. I'm out here pretty early this morning because now we have another heat wave. It's supposed to get a feel-like temperature between 95 and 105 today. And I think 110 tomorrow. So we're going to do as much as we can right now before it gets too hot. But I'm going to try to just make this one video. I always say that, but it never turns out that way. Yeah, it's pretty clean up here. I'm just going to give it a quick cleaning. I'll blow this all out, and then off camera I'll take it down and I'll degrease the engine on it. If you're watching Rayleigh's, yeah, I put all the parts in this Maxwell House coffee container here, and I'll be back. Okay, so in preparation to get this ready to get degreased, I stuck a piece of paper towel in the exhaust manifold, in the intake manifold here, because you don't want to get any water in there. And you also just want to stay away from that area, you know, when you're, I'm going to just be scrubbing this down and just hosing it down lately to get all the debris off. And I just wanted to let you know that. Okay, so I just got done degreasing the engine and the mower deck, and I did the wheels too. It turns out that most of the paint got rubbed off the engine because they use really cheap paint. They're really bad paint jobs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to disconnect the kill cable, you know, the shut off cable, and there's 3 bolts that hold the engine on. So depending on how hard these bolts are to get out, I'm going to pop the engine off it, and I'm just going to paint the engine. That's where we're at right now. So let me just go ahead and pop this cable off. On the end of this cable, you'll see 2, they're like 2 parts of the cable that you have to squeeze. And then you can pull the cable out like this. And then there's like an S-bend here. And you just curl it down and pull your cable off. Oh boy, I almost broke that. No, yeah, maybe. No, it's okay. It'll be alright. I'm almost breaking something all the time. Especially on camera. Alright, I'll get set up and let's see if we can get these engine bolts to loosen up without any problems. Okay, I was able to get the bolts loose. I took 2 out already. I just left this one in the front here. Just pop this one out. And then we just lift the engine right off. It's that easy. Now we can clean the deck real good. I'll take this over and I'll paint this. Let me shut the camera off. It's a little involved, but it's pretty easy work to do. Okay, so I painted the engine all the way around. And this is the spark plug that I use. I think it's a torch plug. That's what I use. That's what they're good for. I use that to screw into the head so we don't get any paint inside the cylinder. And I painted all the way around the engine here. We're going to let that dry. So in the meantime, I'm going to sharpen the blade, do everything else that I can do while this paint dries. I'll clean off the deck real good, polish that up, and I'll be back with you. So it's coming out pretty good so far. I cleaned the deck off with some window cleaner with some Windex, and then I shined it up with some WD, and I did that to the wheels as well. And I also decided that the handle wasn't too bad. It could have just been cleaned up, but I decided to paint the handle here too. You know, I figured I've gone this far, so I might as well just you know, paint the handle. I cleaned all this, all cleaned up really good, really nice. So I'm still waiting for the paint to dry on the engine, and in the meantime I'm going to go ahead and sharpen the blade. As the paint was drying, I started to notice that it's like a flat black and it's not a glossy black. So on the can here, I figured when they processed this, when they made it at the factory, that they put the wrong cap on here, which is a glossy cap. But then I read the panel here and it says gloss black. So this was tagged wrong, but at least it's painted. It looks good. I don't like flat black, but I'll probably just use the rest of this can. I'll just mark it and use it for primer or something like that. The reason why I like using that paint is not only because it's cheaper. I mean, I don't care about that so much, but that paint usually is like a quick drying paint and it holds up pretty good. That's why I like using it, but I don't know. I might just go back to using the Rust-Oleum black. Okay, so off camera, like I said I was going to do, is I took the carburetor off the tank here and I cleaned it out. I dumped out the old gas. So we're going to begin by putting the carburetor and gas tank assembly back on. And what I'm going to do is first I'm going to take this spacer that's supposed to go on here, that goes on here, and I'm just going to take the bolt. This is a shroud bolt that holds this whole thing on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw this bolt on a little bit here. And then after I get the carburetor back on, we'll take that bolt out, and this way we can put the shroud back on. Needle nose. Okay, so this has a O-ring in here, and then it has this retainer. So you want to make sure this is all, you know, clipped in here good and everything. And then you go ahead and install your carburetor. First we're going to hook up the linkage. I just grabbed the linkage with the needle nose here, and then we get this set down in here. There's two holes here, but I'm choosing the wrong hole. It looks like, yeah, this is the right one. You want to put it in the bigger hole. Why is everything got to be such a pain in the ass on camera? I don't know. Okay, we got it. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to push the whole carburetor onto the intake manifold here. Give it a little twist. And we got that. We got that hooked in. This thing's all jammed up here. I don't know why. For some reason, this whole governor's jammed over here. Let me see what's going on with this. This could only happen on camera. Sometimes you gotta watch out for this. This is the throttle stop here. And what happened was somehow along the line, I don't know how, it jumped over and it's on the other side. So what you want to do is just stick it back over here. That's why the throttle linkage was all jammed up. Okay, so I put the two bolts back in. It holds this whole assembly on. I used a 1/2 inch socket for this one bolt and then the 3/8 on this side. Okay, so now, you know, this spacer here, we can take this bolt out because I just stuck this bolt in there just to support the spacer assembly here. And we can go ahead now. We can put the shroud back on. Well, first, well, yeah. I think I'm gonna hook up the cable here first. We'll do that first. And then this just clips right back into this bracket here. No big deal. And then this little plastic cover here, I'll put that back on. I took that all off so I can clean and paint everything good. So just stick this back on here. And I think this is a 1/4 inch socket you're going to need for this. Pretty sure. Give it a little snug. You want to watch your own strip it. Okay, now we're set to put our cover back on. I just want to show you something real quick here. Your coil wire, there's a little indentation in here, so you want to make sure that you put the wire in the indentation before you drop the cover on. Otherwise, if you drop it anywhere else here, you might pinch the wire and you'll cause a ground and ruin the wire. So we're just going to plop this thing back on, and I might move the camera back over. Sometimes, like on the Quantum engine, there's these other brackets that come straight up, and you got to make sure that you fit them in there right. Otherwise, you're going to have a real hard time putting this cover back on. And then you just want to give this a couple of tugs, and this way you're assured that the recoiler is set back in where it belongs. And I think I'll move you back around. This is the next day, by the way, from when I started telling you about the paint. Today is supposed to be 110 feel like temperature, so I want to try to get this. This isn't on right. Okay, that's better. That's good. Okay, what you want to do is catch all your bolts first before you start tightening up anything here. Here comes the sun. I think it's about 6:15 now. Maybe 6:30. Try to beat the heat here today. Okay, so we have all the bolts started, so while I'm here, I'm just going to tighten this one up, and we'll work our way around. There's only 3 bolts to hold this whole cover on. Okay, that's tight. Okay. Yeah, we have this breather, rubber L-shaped hose here. So we're going to try to wedge that back in here. Okay, just tuck it in, tuck it on there, make sure it's on there right. Okay, so we got that bit done. Okay, so I'm gonna screw the muffler. I took the muffler off so I could clean up the block real good before we painted it. And I'm just gonna go grab the big counter on. If you're ever doing one of these, restorations, if you want to call it that, if you have trouble unscrewing the muffler, just leave it up. Just leave it. So I'm just going to screw it on. You can more or less just twist it on by hand, but taking it off, I'm still going to give it just a little tweak with the big channel locks here, just to make sure, just for moral support. So that's on there pretty tight. But you're always going to need channel locks or something of the sort to take the muffler off. Okay, next time we'll be putting the blade on. Now you want to be careful with this. The blade, for one thing, has to go on the right way, and we're going to discuss that in a minute. And then you have this piece here that has the 2 tabs on it, and they have to fit into the 2 holes on the end here. I've seen mowers come in with this, like this, upside down, blade upside down. But I'm going to explain something about the blade. I'm going to go ahead and just install the blade right now, and then I'll be right back to you. Okay, so a lot of times you're going to have a blade, you're going to be installing a blade that isn't marked. Sometimes the blade will be marked this side down, bottom, whatever. Okay, so if you're not sure which way to put the blade on, the easiest way you can figure out how to put the blade on is you take the spark plug out, or if you don't take the spark plug out, at least have the coil wire disconnected from the spark plug when you do this. And when you have the spark plug out, it's much easier to pull the cord. And what you're going to do is, I'm trying to hold this camera here with my right hand. You're going to release the brake, pull the bell down, like, you're getting ready to start the machine or whatever. Tie the bell down or use a clip or however you do it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to pull the cord. Okay? So as you saw, if you saw it, let me do it again. Yeah, you're going to pull the cord and the blade's going to come around. Okay, so once the blade comes around, you're going to look at the blade and you want the sharp edge to be coming around this way like it just did. And that's one way to do it. And like I said, it's easier to pull it when you have the spark plug out, but if you're going to do it with the spark plug in, always make sure you have the spark plug wire disconnected. I think we're just about ready to test this out. And there's one more thing. Oh yeah, I already changed the oil yesterday. I changed it and I put 30 weight oil in it. It took less than a half a quart, a little bit less than a half a quart. So we're all set with the oil, and we're all set with everything else. I'm going to put a shot of seafoam in it, whether it needs it or not, and fill the tank with gas, and we'll see how it runs. Okay, so I've decided to put the brand new spark plug in it. I don't really see anything wrong with the old one, but I'll just put a brand new one in it. I'm using an Autolite 458. Walmart took their line of Champion spark plugs out. So this is the equivalent to a Champion RJ19LM. Okay, now the reason why I brought up how to put the blade on is because yesterday I was watching Mix Mower's latest video, and he picked up a lawnmower from the scrapyard, and the biggest problem it had was the blade was upside down. And I have a funny feeling that lawnmower was probably junk because it wouldn't cut grass anymore. So that's why I brought it up. I just watched the video yesterday, of course, before I finished this video, because like I said, it's the next day over here. So I figured I would point that out. So before you go ahead and junk your lawnmower, test your blade, make sure it's on. If you ever changed your blade and it doesn't cut right anymore, chances are the blade's on upside down. So, okay, so we got the spark plug in. Alright, so I'm going to top it off with gas. Like I said, I'm going to put a shot of seafoam in it, and we'll see if it runs any better. The air filter is like brand new. I just cleaned the housing off real good. He must have changed it recently, so we're going to let that go. Okay, so I filled it with gas. I put a shot of seafoam in it. I'll give it a few primes and we'll see if it runs any better. And there's one thing I forgot to do is hook this back up here. I'm just hooking the cord back up to the handle here, the pull cord. Sorry about that. So hopefully it runs better after the carburetor clean. I like these to start up first pull, and it's not starting first pull. Although, I gotta, oh, did I prime, maybe I forgot to prime it? I don't know. Who the heck knows? I think I forgot, because when I first pushed the primer in, it felt like nothing. It felt like air. That's no good. Well, we got a little throttle problem here. Let me see what's going on with that. It's always some problem. Okay, so what happened was this piece here was bent down. I don't know if it happened when I was painting it, when I was turning the engine around and everything, but this was folded down this way, holding the throttle open pretty wide. So I bent this back and I relieved pressure on the throttle. I just tried it. Seems like it's urgent a little bit still, but I'm going to stick the air cleaner back on and we'll start it up again. Okay, so let's give it another try. I'll give it a couple of primes. Okay, overall it's not too bad. I could almost hear the seafoam working then. Okay, so I had a very slight surge when we first started it, but it seems to be getting better and better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this tank of gas through this. I'll just let it run off camera, of course. I know this wasn't much of a video, but you know, you saw the steps I took to fix up a mower to resell it. And I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all on the next one, and be safe.